Yes, indeed, Steeler Nation. We are back on the one and only The Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. And man, there is a big game this Sunday. The Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Baltimore Ravens. The anticipation is building. The Steelers are riding high. And man, like I've been saying from the beginning, let Russ cook. I'm going to be riding solo today because Mike got caught up with some stuff at work. Wish him the best. And just really excited to bring on our guest. But before we do, we're going to shout out our good people over at DraftKings. So the Emirates NBA Cup is here. You can win. Get big in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All 30 teams split into 6 groups every Tuesday and Friday, playing for the rights to advance in a single elimination in-season tournament. So really excited stuff going on in Vegas. You can score big with DraftKings Sportsbook. Every point counts. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, but make sure you use our code 6sports. Again, that is 6sports. That code will get new customers when you just deposit $5, $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. That's it. $5 can get you $200 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
And there you have it. Make yourself some money. And we have a great guest today, so we're going to get to it. Shane, let's get ready for kickoff.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy.
Aaron Smith shields. Flacco Polamalu takes it home. Super Bowl 43. Pittsburgh might be bound for that thanks to number 43.
The sickest Pittsburgh Steelers podcast.
Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. He is not your average Joe, not to be compared to James Bond. He is Joe Bond, the founder of Fantasy Six Pack, and you can find him at the Fantasy Pros. How are you doing, Joe? I'm sure you haven't heard that one before, though. The
No, never.
Joke, but just thought I'd, I'm a father of a 2-year-old, so I figured I could brush up on my dad jokes there. But again,
Okay,
really fortunate to have you on the show. We'll talk some fantasy and talk some light Steeler stuff. Obviously, we're a Steeler podcast, but always like to get our take on the full NFL grand scheme of things. So what do you make so far, like generally, just looking on the outside, looking in of this Steeler season thus far?
I mean, you've got to be pleasantly surprised, right? I mean, they started the season off and Russ was hurt, right? And so you're thinking, like they're gonna have to go with Justin Fields, and we know how Justin Fields' offenses work. They're usually not that great, and in reality, it really wasn't that great. Like it was him and Najee running the ball. Like there wasn't a whole lot else going on, and it was just working. They were, not a lot of yards on offense, but the defense was keeping them in it, and they were just able to grind out a lot of games, and it worked for them. Now Russ is back, and there was a lot of like, oh, how can they possibly do this when they're winning games? Yeah. Well, quickly silenced all of the haters because the offense is completely different with Russell Wilson there. And I think the demise of Russell Wilson has also been silenced. His time in Denver was not good. Like, I don't think he's going to be as good as he was when he was in Seattle. He's not that guy anymore, but he's able to do things with that offense that Justin Fields can't. I mean,
so in the beginning, I was always Russell Fields, even when he was, nursing the ham injury. When he came back, I was like, man, I was Russell Wilson from day one. I just think his pedigree alone gets him that starting position. And for the price that we got Justin Fields, I mean, my ceiling was never too high on him. He's a dynamic player, but the consistency was never there. And I think Russ could make, it sounds far-fetched, but it doesn't really sound too far-fetched now. simply because, you get hot at the right time and you can make a run at the big dance, as they say. So were you team Russ or Justin Fields?
I was always on the side that Russell Wilson was the better
Okay,
option.
good. It's good to have, because I got a lot of slack for that. Now I'm keeping the receipts.
I mean, it's definitely, like I said, it was Justin Fields is the playmaker. He's more exciting. A lot of people play fantasy, right? And
Yeah.
Justin Fields is fantastic for fantasy. Why? Because he can run the ball. There's a lot of guys that are good for fantasy that aren't good for the NFL. I mean, just look at like Kansas City, right? Pat Mahomes. He's actually not a great fantasy quarterback right now.
It's crazy.
But they're 9-0. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. He's not worried about your fantasy team. Let's just put it that way.
It
He's
doesn't
worried
matter
about
at all. So Justin Fields is great for fantasy, and we love him because of it. But Russell Wilson is the guy who's going to ultimately, I think, win them more games.
Yeah.
And give them a better shot down the road.
So I know you're a fantasy guy, so let's kind of switch over. George Pickens' fantasy value obviously rising with Russell Wilson behind center. Just talk about where he is. And we always say it. I said it on previous podcasts, everyone's waiting for that George Pickens breakout game, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, and we'll get there. We're making progress. But where do you really see his overall value for the rest of the season, fantasy-wise, now that Russ is a QB?
Yeah. He's probably, he hovers around that wide receiver 2 range. He doesn't have quite that upside. The offense doesn't feed through him. It is still a very methodical. They want to run the ball. They want to play defense. Typical Steelers stuff, man. It's the DNA. This team has not changed. It feels like in 60 years. It's always been the same thing,
You're
right?
Exactly
And so
right.
That's just how they roll. Now he is the guy.
Yeah.
That is the one thing he's got going for him. Yeah, Calvin Austin's there. He's fine. They brought in Mike Williams. He caught the game-winning touchdowns against my Commanders, by the way.
Yeah, I know. When I reached out to you, it was funny. But listen, this is what I was saying. We'll get back to Steeler talk. You guys have a really good team, and everything that franchise has been through. Really happy for you guys over there. And there's only a few NFL teams that I have hatred for, I would say. And I don't even necessarily, we're going to get into the Ravens and preview that game a little bit, but the Browns are really just the only NFL. The Browns and the Cowboys, as a Steeler fan, is 2 teams, 2 franchises that I could do without. But everyone else, I think a good rivalry goes a long way. And geographically, that could turn into a great one if they keep landing on their schedule. So I really like where you guys are heading over there.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the future. That was a shame to lose it by maybe an inch. Yeah. I don't even know if we technically did not get that first down. We'll never know for real. But no, back to Pickens though. He's going to be a good wide receiver 2. He's going to have wide receiver 1 weeks. But I think over the course of the rest of the season, you're looking at wide receiver 2 numbers from him.
Yeah. So let's preview this Ravens game a little bit. It was funny because I just got done watching the Mike Tomlin presser, and he was basically, they just ask him here and there questions. But the Deontay Johnson thing, they're like, yeah, they don't have much tape on him. Obviously, he hasn't been utilized since he's been over there. Do you think that just because of, obviously it's his former team, and, you don't want to I guess, say that it's going to be, but do you think that they'll utilize him more if there was a time where they were going to utilize him more, or where do you see him, fitting in the scheme on Sunday?
I'll be honest with you, man. I didn't like the trade very much for the Ravens. I get just getting a piece and it wasn't very expensive, but I didn't from a fantasy perspective. I did not I thought this crushed Deontay Johnson's value. The reason why we like him in Carolina is because he was the only real weapon they had.
The go-to guy.
In the passing game, he was just volume, right? In Baltimore, they got Zay Flowers. Bateman was making a name for himself. It's a heavy running team. So the volume is already decreased because of that. There is absolutely no need for the Ravens to force the issue with Deontay Johnson. Let him sit back. Let him learn the playbook. He's getting frustrated though, so they're going to have to do something quick. He's going to check out. It sounds like if they don't get him some opportunities. But I mean, I'd be pissed too if I was traded from. Granted, he's going to a better situation. You got to winning, but I'd be pissed too if I went from the wide receiver 1 getting 10 targets, 12 targets a game to getting not even that many snaps a game. That's bonkers to me. I'm surprised they haven't gotten him on the field more than that, but.
Yeah,
They
and
haven't
I
needed
think
it.
just watching him over the years, exactly. And I think that Deontay Johnson is his own worst enemy. I think that his attitude is his biggest problem. And then
Mhm.
as soon as like he's not being utilized, he's pouting. And I get, after having Kenny Pickett as your quarterback for those 2 years, I can understand the frustration. But at the same time, it's like football is a team game, and it just goes to show you, like, some of these guys, they have all the talent in the world, but if you're not a team player, you're never going to get to where your full potential could be. And I think honestly, he is the poster child for that. If you're being honest, and he is. I'm not going to lie and sit here and say that he's not talented, but I think that the way that he, acts is detrimental to what he can do on the field and as well as in the locker room. Because I witnessed it in Pittsburgh. I think everyone did. So so it's going to be interesting. And this is always a funny statistic. So I don't know the exact win-loss, but Lamar Jackson does not play the Steelers very well. I know in past Tyler Huntley was starting when he was injured, but overall, he just, what do you think it is that he can't find his rhythm against the Steelers? And it's really leaning towards, I think that the Steelers are going to win this game on Sunday. I think it's going to go down to the final 2 minutes, but I think ultimately the Steelers do pull it out because that's what the Steelers do.
I think part of what hurts Lamar when he plays, very competitive games,
Mm-hmm.
a team that's got a good enough offense to kind of keep pace with them, and a good defense to kind of hold them, kind of rein them in a little
Yeah.
bit, right? Unlike Cincy, right, on Thursday, right?
Yeah.
They were in a shootout, right? Lamar wants that. Like, give me a shootout. I don't want defense
Yeah.
against me, right? But if it's kind of defense versus defense and an offense that could also keep pace with them, they're going to struggle. Now, I don't know if you can say that the Steelers have quite the offense to keep pace with Baltimore's offense, but their defense,
Mm-hmm.
the Steelers' defense, that is right now way better than the
Yeah.
Ravens. So that kind of balances it out that way. I think he struggles when he is forced to like make multiple reads on the same play. Can't run as freely as he wants. And now it will be different. I wonder how different of a game it will be when the Steelers have to worry about not just Lamar, but Derrick Henry. That has made a
Yeah.
massive difference, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
for this
That
Ravens
was my
offense.
next question. So that was a perfect segue. How do you think that, he's such a dynamic player, and how do you think that he'll kind of fit? I mean, stopping Derrick Henry is going to be the number one thing, I
Yeah,
think.
I mean, it's just the fact that you have to worry about both,
Yeah.
right? In the past, they've had some decent running backs. Dobbins, when he was healthy, was
Yeah.
good, but right, if he's healthy, right? Gus Edwards is
Yeah.
fine, I guess, right? But it's Gus Edwards. This is Derrick Henry. This is a totally different
Good luck.
ball
Yeah.
game, right? Yeah, I mean, the Steelers have the defense in the front to stop this run attack, and then
Yeah.
it's been interesting because the Ravens have found success in the past game this year, a little bit farther downfield, a
Mm-hmm.
lot on the play action, a lot on like the rollouts type thing. But the Steelers have always seemed to be good at like containing him and making
Yeah.
sure and making Lamar pass the ball before he wants to, like having a guy ready for him when he does a little like rollout,
Yeah.
and just kind of in his face, right? And so just putting that little extra pressure on it. And yeah, I actually looked it up. The Lamar has played, this can't be right, only 6 games against the Steelers.
I told you it's crazy. I had to
2
double
and
take.
4. What has he been hurt? All
Yeah,
these
he's been
Steelers games?
hurt. Yeah, that's what I said. I think there was like a 2-game where he didn't even play him the whole season. I think Tyler Huntley at the time was the quarterback, because I was actually at that game. We actually, on our network, we used to have the Chris Wormley show. He's now a Raven, so that's also going to be interesting. Really great guy, but yeah, he started with the Ravens and he was with the Panthers and then signed. And I remember that game I went to where he had 2 sacks, and I think Tyler Huntley was the QB, if I'm not mistaken. So it's kind of baffling. I did the same thing as you. I'm like, really? I'm like, is this like where I had to like double check it? And I'm like, no, it's
Yeah, I'm looking against Cincy and Cleveland. He's got 12 games against both of them. So yeah, they must have like all the Steelers games later in the year, and
Yeah.
that's when Lamar's been hurt. So that's
Yeah.
very interesting to see. So, but yeah, he's 2 and 4 against him. So yeah.
So let's get your prediction. Way too early prediction, obviously. for Sunday? What you have the Steelers, Ravens, and by how many points?
This is in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
It's a Sunday 1:00 game. Man, I know you're not gonna like it, but
I don't care. It's all right.
I'm gonna go. Dude, it's gonna be close.
Our
Man.
viewers might not like it.
I'm
But
gonna go.
okay.
I'll do a simple like 24-22 type win type thing. 24-23. It's gonna be super tight.
That's what I said. I think that the Steelers, I'm like the opposite. I'm going to say 24-21 and Steelers pull it out final 2 minutes off Chris Boswell, gets a game-winning field goal. I think that these are the type of games. The AFC North games, obviously the Ravens are a top-tier team, but as far as like the Browns and Bengals, like you could throw the records out of the window. The Browns want to beat the Steelers every time, and it's vice versa on the other side as well. So it's going to be really interesting, and I think that this is where you can really separate like the 7-2. And I'm not like one of those people. I told this to my co-host Mike last couple episodes or whenever it was, and I'm not a big strength of schedule guy. I think that every time you play, people put so much into that. Like it's any given Sunday. Like obviously, like there's teams who are in the cellar, as they like to say. But at the same time, I feel like this is the NFL, and you're playing against the best of the best. But I really think this stretch of the Steelers schedule is really going to show them, especially the AFC North ball, is when you can kind of start to see, okay, are they contenders? Unfortunately, obviously, we have to get through Patrick Mahomes. That's going to be the toughest test, and the Chiefs are on the Steelers schedule. But I just think that at home, there's just so much momentum right now in Pittsburgh with Russ and everything. I think that the Steelers pull it out, but very similar, just the opposite way. Before we get you out of here, man, really appreciate your time. One more question, and then tell the viewers and everything what you got going on and where they can find you. But just talk about the impact that Mike Williams had. That ball, Russ put it perfectly on there. Had that one catch, and I really think that was a good, a lot of people wanted Devontae Adams and this and that. I think that Mike Williams, 30 years old, I think he still has some gas left in the tank. I think that he just needs to be utilized in the right way. And I think we saw that this past weekend, and really optimistic about what he can bring to this team as well, because we definitely needed another wide receiver.
Yeah, he's gonna be just another guy that just spreads the field a little bit for you, and he can be a deep threat too. He's very inconsistent, though. We've seen that his entire career. He's also very injury prone. I mean, look, it's not like Rodgers wasn't trying to get Mike Williams the ball a lot. It just was dropping them a lot too. So like he's got that issue too. It's very interesting with Mike Williams, but I do think it's it's not a bad thing to have him. It's going to help you. It's just not going to be like, oh wow, like every game. Like he caught the game winner. Like that's going to be huge. But other than that, I think it's he'll catch 2-3 passes a game.
It doesn't hurt. Basically, what I got from that is it's not going to be detrimental, but it also isn't going to move the needle as much as people think.
Yeah, I really don't think he's going to end up becoming a integral piece that you're going to be like, oh man, we got to get Mike Williams the ball more. No, it's really never been his thing outside of like 1 year in LA.
I have to ask, did you go to Virginia Tech? I see the Virginia Tech.
I did.
Awesome. Good school. Yeah. I'm an ACC guy. I'm a Pitt guy, but I definitely respect Virginia Tech. A crazy story. One of my friends, he always like sends me random YouTube videos, and they sent me the Sandman, the Virginia Tech, and man, the entrance, I almost got chills. I'm like, this might be the best college entrance that I've ever, and I wasn't there, and I'm like watching a YouTube video. I put it on my TV. I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, this is
it is amazing. If there is ever one thing I suggest you go check out, man, just to go see it, is a Virginia Tech home game, especially at night under the lights. Get that Enter Sandman entrance. You got to make sure you're there for the entrance, man. Sadly, it might be the best part of the game right now because Virginia Tech football sort of meh, but it is something else to experience.
It's a good program. Awesome. Well, I'll put that on the bucket list for sure. Thank you again, Joe, for coming on. I know our fans are really going to enjoy this episode. Just tell everyone what you got working on. We know you do a lot of fantasy work, and just where they can find you and what you have coming up next.
Yeah, so fantasy6pack.net is where all the content is. Got a great team of writers and content producers over there. We got our own YouTube channel, our own audio network as well. So go ahead and find those wherever you watch and listen. You mentioned Fantasy Pros, so I enter into the accuracy contest as of right now. I know they haven't calculated week 10 yet. I'm number 1 in the in-season accuracy contest over there at Fantasy Pros, so that's pretty cool. But my rankings are typically found over on the website. I update them constantly over there. I update them pretty late in the game for on Fantasy Pros, but it's just to get into the accuracy contest. So yeah, go ahead and check it out. Become an all access member. We got a Discord and all that kind of stuff for our members to take advantage of me and the great team over there.
Well, hey, really appreciate your stuff. Like I said, your stuff kept popping up on my Twitter, and I'm glad I reached out. This was a great episode. I know everyone's going to enjoy it. Best of luck to your commander. Sorry we had to do that for you, but hey, man, just keep on keeping on. You're doing great work, and it's been a pleasure talking with you. Thanks again, Joe.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Anytime. Yeah, there you have it, man. The fantasy world is crazy, and you got to just play that waiver wire sometimes in those deep leagues. So definitely go and check Joe's stuff out. I told you where you can find it. You could also find him on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now. But yeah, a lot of optimism. It's a good thing to have. Steelers are 7-2. AFC North ball starting. So we're really going to see, if they're contenders. Everything's leaning towards it. They are right now. And I think that Russell Wilson is just going to progress as the season goes on. And, this defense gets healthy. Added Preston Smith, another great addition. Definitely need Nick Herbig out there. Impact player as well. So just need to get healthy and just keep it going. And we're going to see. So very exciting time. Again, make sure you use our code 6sports over at DraftKings. The crown is yours, and we'll be back later this week with another great guest. It's always great to have these national guests. We have a few local guys on here and there, but it's always great to get their perspective on the Steelers. So let's keep it going. 365 days a year of Steeler coverage on the one and only, the Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. Jay York Football, Mic'd Up Sports 1. Until next time.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Steelers Crazy on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.